Well, hey, good morning. Thanks so much for waking up with us here on the Daily Brew. I feel like waking up this morning with the weather coming together like it is just foggy out there.
Yes,
All over.
very foggy. And I say this 1,000 times. You're gonna be like, Danny, we've heard it enough. But again, when you have a lot of that rain, especially we've already been very humid, right? We've been very wet over the past few months. You add, some areas saw in Sequoia County 5-6 inches of rainfall. You add that and it just kind of settles there. And then when you cool off overnight, it has nowhere to go and it just condenses. Then you just have all this fog. And since winds are so light, it can't mix it up to kind of, like if you wave your hand, if there's like a bunch of steam, you can kind of clear it out. Well, there's none of that. So it just kind of sits there. Thankfully, it is clearing out there a little bit. But yeah, we could see even more tomorrow night as well, just because there's so much moisture left over.
Yeah,
I will say on foggy mornings, it's a little bit harder to get out of bed, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. So if you're heading out this morning, be careful out there. Just remember that. All right, let's talk about if you're a husband, going to be a husband. Listen to this. More than 200 people from across the globe, they gathered in Finland to compete in the annual wife carrying world championship. So I think these guys know how to get it done. They literally...
Look at them go.
Right? I guess there's like a strategy to making this happen across the obstacle course.
They're all carrying her like that, and so I'm wondering if that's like the rule. But what's so wild is there's the obstacles. They run through water and sand. That is so hard.
Yeah.
But hey, America took the gold home. Caleb and Justine Rolster, they took the title in the main event, and they're visiting from the U.S.
I guess they've just figured out like this is the easiest way to do it. Because Daddy was saying you got to have your hands free.
Right.
I'm just wondering, like, training, if you're their neighbor.
Yeah, like,
And you just see them running
like,
through the
what are you
neighborhood.
Is this some kind of like guidance counselor, marriage counselor thing, like training? Because that's what I'd be thinking.
Yeah.
Like, did they
People
tell them to
like,
do this?
What's going on? Because they've got to train for it.
Right.
Maybe some marriage counselors are like, their ears are perking up. Maybe I
maybe
try
this.
this.
I was
Good
say,
idea.
I was say eventually. Maybe my girlfriend and I eventually, once we get married, maybe we'll do that. We'll see.
Yeah.
There you go.
See if it works.
Hey,
Just
we'll
bring
be
the gold home for us.
We'll be
that's what
rooting
I'm
for
trying.
you because we will not be participating with our husbands.
Nope. If mine picks me up, it wouldn't. I could see that not happening. I'm just saying. Like, it's not happening. All right, let's talk about the operational Apple One computer, which is going up for auction next month. Do we have video of that?
There we are.
There we are. It's just one of 50 built by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in their California garage back in 1976. So we're talking like the first.
Can we talk about Steve Wozniak? Because I've never heard his name before, and apparently he's just as big a part
smart?
of it
Yes,
as Steve Jobs.
So I mean, they're both very smart, but Steve Wozniak was more a part of like the building of the computer, kind of the science behind everything, and then Steve Jobs was more of the face of it. So he did more of like the marketing communication, and then Steve Wozniak was more of like the actual computer building. And there is some controversy about that, just because of that Steve Jobs. I mean, they both owned Apple, but like
Wozniak did all the work, it sounds like. Steve Jobs was just the pretty face.
yeah, your words, not mine.
Daddy's like,
but-
don't shoot the messenger.
Yes,
I'm just
but
saying.
So was Wozniak, did he get a good amount of money as well?
Yes, he did. He did. So yeah, he.
But not as much as
it
Steve
wasn't like
Jobs.
it wasn't like a Facebook thing where have you guys seen The Social Network?
No.
Oh, so basically, he's about to start a Facebook. It was a couple of Harvard guys, and one of the guys, these two brothers that started it, and Zuckerberg it was very nasty. Ended up going to court. He kind of like took it from them and then left them off like owning it, and they like dumped all their shares and basically said, no, you don't own it anymore.
Wow.
And it was just,
Oh, no.
The Social Network. It stars I can't remember the guy's name, but a very good actor that plays Zuckerberg. Is a very, very interesting topic about how they started it and how they kind of just fell through because the owners didn't really.
How mad are you
Yeah.
if that's not your money?
Yeah,
Right.
especially because he's one of the richest men in the world. So it wasn't like that. So he still has quite a bit of money, but there is some controversy over who is really the face of Apple.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, that one there, the Apple One, is expected to fetch from Sotheby's about $400,000 to $600,000 and is in full working condition, which that's the surprising part, that it would survive that long and operate.
Right.
I do think that's cool. I miss the old big computers.
The big white box.
Oh, and I remember like growing up, like it was a big deal. Like we'd get those little CD games, and it'd be like little math games, and it'd be like if I did my chores and I could go and I could play
Okay,
like
you-
the polar punch with addition and subtraction.
You guys might not know this, but some people out there watching, they know Oregon Trail.
Oh, and actually, a couple people from Minnesota invented that on the old Apple computers.
Oh, yeah?
I actually loved Oregon Trail growing up. We had the newer version. It was more like, I think, the 1990s it was made. And unfortunately, whenever we played, my older brother would man the computer. And so he'd have me towards the end of the pack. So I'd always die of dysentery every time.
What about Webkins? Did you have Webkins?
I did have Webkins. I had quite a few Webkins.
Do you know what Webkins are, Joe?
No.
They were these little stuffed animals that you would buy, and they came with a code. You really didn't care about the animal. You cared about the
They
code.
have a digital thing on their stomach?
It was like a little plastic code,
Yeah.
and when you plugged it in online, you could play with them
And
online.
you had like this whole world. I had like 13 of them, and it's all these animals in the little world. Then you'd play it on the computer. Like you would like be so ready to get home from school, so you could get on that computer and you could check on your. You'd have to take
Webkins?
care of them like pets. Like
Yes.
you have to feed them and give them water.
Like the
and,
Tamagotchi or
A little bit,
Is
yeah.
that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, there is a Martian rock going up for auction as well at Sotheby's. It was unveiled, the largest Martian meteor ever recovered on Earth. Now, 54 pounds there, and it was discovered in 2023 by a meteor hunter about 5 million years ago. An asteroid slammed into Mars so hard that that rock and other debris actually launched into space. After traveling millions of years, some eventually landed on Earth. And this one is expected to sell for about $2 to $4 million.
I'm sorry, I would never. That's ridiculous. How do we know they didn't take that rock and paint it and say, this was found?
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be some sort of, is it paleontologist that's going to know, I don't know if that's the correct term, that knows like the study of like the Earth and stuff, and they're going to be like, all right, we can age this. I'm sure it got properly aged, but
Archaeologist,
sure.
paleontologist does dinosaurs.
That's right.
Yeah,
I
we're
got
talking about next.
I got ahead of myself.
He
Yeah,
was waiting for the next story.
Yes, archaeologists
And
can
the
age
only,
them.
hey, one way you can remember paleontologist, isn't that what Ross off of Friends was?
Yeah, he was a
Oh,
paleontologist.
that's right,
A
okay.
dinosaur dude.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, I would say you could do that. And some ways they can look at it is, now this is getting a little bit nerdy, but like the half-life of an object. So basically like, let's say you have like an element. You know like how like oil takes millions and millions of years to develop? So you can take like the half-life of the element, and it takes like basically what it means is it takes like 500,000 years for something to degrade by half. And so you can use kind of like that technology to see as well.
I'm just sitting here thinking I was a communications major for a reason. That way. Ooh.
All right, so we're on a kick here on auctions and cool things. Let's talk about this one here where you could own a Jurassic dino.
This one's more worth it to me than the rock.
Ceratosaurus, which is on display. Was excavated in Wyoming in 1996. It's about 6 foot tall. All the bones, most of the bones are there. Almost a complete skull, estimated about 160 million years old. That one, what, I think 6 million?
Yeah, it's like 4 to 6.
Yeah.
As we talked about, I would put that in the man cave and encase it, because sometimes, you know, you have a few and you're like, let's play with the dinosaur, and then it breaks. And there goes $6 million. But I think it'd be pretty cool. Like, it'd be a great storyteller too. Like, how in the world did you get a dinosaur? Well,
Yeah, that would
let me
be
tell you about
cool. I would say like, oh yeah, I'd love to see this. And when we were in DC, we didn't even go to the Smithsonian with the dinosaurs.
Aw.
We wanted to. You know, we just picked other things over
Yeah.
it.
Well,
So
there's
I'm like,
so much to do at DC.
yeah, but I'm like, I mean, that would be cool, but that much
Don't they
money?
have like a T-Rex there?
I
Like
think
one
they
of the
do. They
best?
have.
Yeah.
We need to go back and see it all. You could spend a week just in the Smithsonian's and not have enough time, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I feel like if anything, you'll always have a museum by that if a regular bystander doesn't. But you wonder with something like that, okay, if someone buys it, does U-Haul pick it up? Like, how does that work?
I mean, I bet you're paying a few $100,000 to someone to pack it and
because
ship it.
how are they going to keep it intact? Like, do they have to take it apart and then someone has to come and rebuild it?
Probably, yeah. Because this isn't necessarily a new thing. So I wonder if we could like research and go back, because you know there's probably other dinosaur fossils that have been
Yeah.
excavated and transferred. Maybe, like I said, they might just have to take it. That's a good question.
That's
And then
just wild.
you buy the insurance in this case. I'm just saying.
That's another time
Yes.
you're the neighbors and then you just see them pull.
You got bone by bone just carrying through your house. You're like, what is going on with those
Yeah,
guys?
but if they can afford that, it's probably neighborhood.
I was gonna say there might be a massive gate
Things
around
are
the house anyway.
not
that gets-
Yeah, they don't, enough privacy anyway. All right, filmmaker Peter Jackson is funding an effort to bring back the extinct moa, which is through some genetic engineering. This is a giant flightless bird that was native to New Zealand. And this thing, well, I think like 12 feet tall. 12 feet tall. So some people, you know, a bit skeptical of what could happen here, but he's invested $15 million into a biotech company called Colossal Biosciences, attempting to engineer it.
Yeah,
There you go.
I know Jurassic Park isn't his movie, but I just feel like that's Jurassic Park and it's just not going to end well.
It doesn't go with Lord of the Rings, does it?
No, and I think, well, so the filming took place in New Zealand, so I think he found like an appreciation
I've never
for
seen
these.
Lord of the Rings.
So I actually hadn't until high school. I was always told, you gotta watch it, like it's better than Harry Potter. I was like, all right, well now you got my interest, because I love Harry Potter. I fell asleep halfway through the first movie.
Oh no.
There's a lot of exposition that goes into it, and there's extended cuts. So I only watched like the original ones, which is like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And there's extended cuts that are 3.5, 4. I think the last one, Return of the King, is like close to 4.5 hours. They are pretty good once you get into it, but the exposition in the first movie, I couldn't get into it.
Well, I guess the question becomes, I mean, do you bring back extinct animals?
Yeah,
Is
and it's like the role of playing God, you know,
I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like they're extinct, bummer, but, you know,
what, you got to move on?
time to move on, you know?
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
Well, let's talk about police in northeastern Pennsylvania who are investigating this theft. Check these guys out. They stole a Ronald McDonald
goodness.
statue from a McDonald's.
Like, you wonder why. Like, they're kind of creepy to begin with. Do you think that this is like a bucket list item for them, or?
So like,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I figured they would have been intoxicated, but it sounds like it's at 1 p.m. on a Sunday, which, I mean, hasn't stopped people before. But in the middle of broad daylight?
Right.
Was it just empty and they're like, look, we got to go for this thing?
Why would you take?
Just buy one
If I'm
online.
there's a possibility I'm going to jail. Okay.
And for a Ronald
I'm gonna
McDonald?
not steal a Ronald McDonald statue.
Wait, so it looked like the statue was like up on I wonder if it just wasn't nailed down. It was just like up on a little
Yeah.
place, and they just like, all right, we're just taking this down.
I guess, they're like, hey, sentimental value, and let's I don't know.
I mean,
take it.
Weird.
I mean, as Tiffany said, they're creepy.
They are kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd even want one.
Honestly, you don't really see those in McDonald's anymore, I feel like, anyway. I wonder
No.
if maybe that's why they took it. And you just think back to the glory days of McDonald's. These were always there. Past the other day on the way to Texas. Do you remember the ones that had the playgrounds inside?
Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't seen those in forever.
They look like a hamburger. The old ones did.
And then they had the twisty
Yeah.
slides. We passed one.
Wow.
And I was like, I haven't seen one of those forever. The McDonald's Play Place or
Yeah,
whatever
because
they
now the
called
play
it.
places, like, they're all like inside and they're really big.
Well, this one was inside.
Yeah.
But I feel like you don't really see those anymore.
Yeah, well, they've
Yeah.
really modernized a lot of them.
I feel like during COVID they got rid of a lot of them too.
Yeah,
maybe.
and it was just like a, infestation of germs, but I loved it growing up.
Oh, it was a blast.
Yeah.
We didn't think about germs when we were
No,
little.
I was gonna
For
say.
sure.
Yeah, well, it looked like I saw in the thing, and they don't make them anymore, so that's why people probably wanted to steal them.
Well, was it McDonald's or was it Burger King who had, like, in the early 90s, like, looked like a hamburger?
Probably
and you
Burger King.
climbed up in it.
Probably Burger King.
Is it Burger King?
Burger King had
Did
the
you used to
playgrounds
love
too.
to wear the Burger King hats?
Oh, yeah, all the
crown?
time, all the time.
I
That
loved
was
it.
the best.
Loved it.
I remember growing up, my elementary that I went through the second grade, it was right by a Burger King. And so we go get the crown shapes.
Yep.
Nuggets. I'd get a cherry icy or a Coke icy and then the crown.
The
And I'd wear it
crown,
on
yeah.
I'd walk into dance class with the crown.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Every minute of it. They
wonder
should
if they
bring
still
those
have
back.
them.
I know.
I know.
We might need to go.
Yes.
All right, a life-size Lego replica of McLaren's Formula One car is now on display at Legoland, the Windsor Resort. It came from nearly 400,000 Lego bricks. It weighs over
cool.
5,000 pounds, and it took 6 expert model makers about 2,000 hours to build the replica.
And can reach speeds up to 12 miles per hour. That's the most impressive part
Right.
to
I
me.
know, so it's
Especially
operational.
Without it falling apart.
Right.
Like, okay, Legos, I don't have the patience for them, but I do think that people who can put stuff together are so impressive. Like,
Yeah.
I have a little cousin, and when he was 10, he put together, like, a battleship in, like, 2 hours. And I'm just like, how do you do that? My brother-in-law, there's, like, a Lego shrine in the garage, and he makes, like, the Star Wars Legos are his thing.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
collecting
Yeah.
all of them, and he makes, like, the really big things, and the kids help. I'm like, it's just so impressive to me. Like, in vacations, I always go to Lego stores.
It seems like it just takes a lot of time.
lot of
you
time.
know?
It does. But I think for some people, like, that's their hobby, or maybe that's kind of like their wind down relaxation. Some people read a book, some people do their Legos, some people
Yeah.
work out.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of different for people.
Yeah, I just wish they weren't so expensive, because a
They
set of
are.
Legos can be very
Because
expensive.
we've had to buy Legos for
Ridiculous.
nieces and nephews, and it's like, a little Lego set now is like $50, $60.
Yeah, and we're talking, these are just like little pieces of plastic.
Yeah. Well, they're intact, and you step on one, you're gonna be shouting the Lord's name quite a few times.
Yeah, you are. All right, let's talk about Barbie's newest doll, which features type 1 diabetes. It's complete with even an insulin pump. I mean, she's pretty cool, right? I mean, she's pretty. Look at her.
I love Barbies. The last few years, how they're making them so inclusive,
yeah,
and how they're making it where like everyone relates to one, right? Like growing up, it was always just the blonde, beautiful Barbie, and I remember like even as a little girl being like, oh, I want one with brown hair, you know, but like that didn't really exist, and now you just have Barbies of all shapes and sizes and different hair colors, the jobs. I have a news anchor Barbie on my desk. Like, I just think it's so cool that we're getting these inclusive Barbies, because especially for little girls that, you know, are diagnosed with this type 1 diabetes, to have a doll with the same thing that they're going through, you know, that makes them feel seen.
Cool. Yeah.
It's really neat.
All right, before we go here, we got to talk about the weather here for a minute on this Wednesday.
Yes, so much different than yesterday. We're not expecting any rain today, maybe a stray storm during the afternoon. But for what's left over it looks like the fog's kind of made a return, an aggressive return. You see that in downtown Fayetteville, Ozark, you see along the rivers, especially in Poto, pretty bad there. Springdale, not as bad. Bentonville, not too shabby. Areas of Fort Smith, not too bad. But areas where we saw quite a bit of rainfall, like Sequoia County, southern Fort Smith, and then again, any low-lying areas around the river could be seeing quite a bit of dense fog. So we'll show you here visibility. Yeah, down to 5 miles in some areas of Fort Smith and downtown areas, so not as bad. You see down to 0 mile in Fayetteville, 1 mile in Siloam Springs. That's where we saw a lot of rain as well. 4 inches of rain in Siloam Springs, and down to 3 miles in Bentonville, and then 0 in Sallisaw and Poto. So just be mindful as you head out the door that fog can be pretty dense. We've seen an accident already this morning, an overturned semi in the fog, I-40 near Clarksville. So just be careful out there. Otherwise, we head through the next week or so, very dry the next couple of days. Get maybe a stray storm or two this afternoon. It's going to be very hit or miss. Most of us will stay dry. The big thing is just going to be hot and soupy. You probably feel it as you walk out the door. Dew point's probably in the mid-70s, so you almost like swimming in that moisture. And then rain chance to return for us Saturday into portions of early next week. The heat index to be anywhere close to 105. So just be safe out there in the heat. But thankfully, all that rain that came through yesterday, we have a break. We can allow it to kind of seep in, and then we'll have a return here coming up this weekend.
All right, sounds good. Hey, thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Brew. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
7 a.m. See you then.